What's up, guys? Welcome to your 57th Android tutorial for the new Boston, again with me, Travis. And what we're going to do in this tutorial is basically access at least our checkbox preference within one of our classes, which will be your splash activity. So what I did is I just changed the title to music and the summary that says for the splash screen. So what we're going to do now is basically go into our splash activity that we have set up from quite some time ago. It's been a while since we visited this splash activity. And so within our onCreate method, that's where we set up our media player object and we started it. But now let's say if we're going to kind of reference our preferences, and if that checkbox is checked, it's going to play it. If not, it's not. And so we're going to kind of surround this start our song method. So there we go. This is where we're going to First we have to access our preferences, and then we can use that access for the most part to see if it's checked or not. So what we're going to do is set up that access to our preferences, and we use something called shared preferences. So we just need to set up a little variable for the most part, and we're going to call this getPrefs, because that's all this method or all this thing is going to do. So we're going to say getPrefs. Again, you have to import the shared preferences. And then we just need to reference the preference manager, which again is a class. And within this class there's something called getDefault shared preferences. So we're going to hit dot, and it's only basically the only method for the most part. There's not too many methods within that class. So we're going to do that, and it takes a context within its parameters. For the context, generally we would say this or something of the sort, but we're going to get the base context. So there's also a method called getBaseContext. That's what we're going to use for this preference manager, or this shared preference object we're setting up. So there we go. We're going to kind of get the information from our preferences that we set up in the XML. So again, it's just getting the preferences. That's all this variable is doing, and then we can refer to that variable with our actual what we're trying to accomplish. And the check is basically a true, false, on, off. Just think of it as a switch. Those are called Boolean. So we're going to set up a Boolean variable that is going to determine whether that check box is on or off or true or false. So we're going to say music, something like that. We're just checking if the music is allowed or not. And what we're going to set this equal to is our variable that we just set up, which basically got all of our preferences. Right here, again, our shared preferences. So we're going to say shared preferences dot, and we have values like get Boolean, get string, get int, get long, all that good stuff. But we're going to use get Boolean because again the checkbox is a true false statement for the most part, and again we have to access our key. So let's go into our preferences XML. And as you can see, our key we set up to checkbox, just like when we were working with sharing data between activities. Same kind of thing. A key is a kind of value or a file path for the most part. So we're going to say checkbox. Did I spell it like that? Yeah, checkbox right there. And there we go. That's our key for the most part. And this second parameter, again, if you guys ever get confused with something, you can hover over it and kind of gives you some details. Again, this is the name of the preference to retrieve. The key is. The default value just returns if the preference has not been set for the most part, if it doesn't exist. So we're going to set it as a default to true because we want to play music for the most part, unless if the user doesn't want to. So there we go. We set up our music. For the most part, it's getting our preferences and then getting the Boolean called checkbox. And if there's nothing set yet, we're just going to set it to default value of true. Now what we can do is we can set up an if-else statement around our start of our media player object that's going to play some music. So we're going to say if, and within parentheses we're going to say music equals true. Then we're going to play it. For the most part, you can set it up something like that. Then again, if our checkbox is clicked, if that will mean it's set to true, and then it's going to play our song. And if it doesn't, it's going to skip over this whole line because this is false, so it's going to skip with whatever is in those brackets. But also just to show you guys some Java, we can delete our brackets actually, because this if statement will include the line below it. If there's more than like one line of code, you will need to use the brackets, but it knows that's an if statement for the most part, and it's going to include one line of code. Again, probably be safe to put brackets, but just to show you guys, you can do that as well. But anyways, let's check out our app activity, make sure it works. Again, the default value is set to true, so we're just going to start it up real quick. And as you guys can probably hear, the music's playing right now. Let's open up our menu and go into our preferences. And as you can see, it's checked. We're going to uncheck it, hit back, and then menu, exit. It's going to exit our application, hit the New Boston again, and as you can see, silence. It's beautiful. Very awesome. And then just to double check our preferences as well, it's still not checked right now. So there you go. Pretty quick tutorial for the most part, just how to access our preferences and how to use it for the most part. Probably do one more tutorial how to access our edit text and our other thing. If you guys don't want to watch it, that's fine, just skip that. I'm still gonna, cry myself to sleep every night either way if you watch the tutorial or not. But I'll catch you guys in the next one if you decide to. Have a good one. Peace.